Hey, this is Cameron, and welcome to the reaction log. Whoa, whoa, whoa. We got a special video here today. Sorry, I haven't been doing special ones lately, but this one, trust me, it's a special one. So, we got a dirty freaking pianist here. I'm just kidding. If you're new, that's the thing in this channel. Pianists, they're, you know, just lesser. Which comes from, like, insecurity of playing such a small, tiny instrument. I'm a classical guitarist, by the way. I know there's a piano behind me, just ignore that. I don't play that thing. It's just a big, stupid music stand. That's all I use it for. Anywho, here we have a pianist that wants to learn guitar in 30 days. Well, doesn't she know? If she wants to learn rock guitar is gonna be made in 12 hours, but 12 years of diligent practice for a classical guitarist, or whatever the John Williams thing is.
A rock and roll guitarist can be turned out in 12 hours flat. The classical player must devote at least 12 solid years to patient study. You pays your money and you takes your pick.
So, you know, I'm kind of coming out of the gate with hate, but really what we have here is somebody who has lost their way, and now they're trying to find it. They're trying to find it in 30 days, so just kind of like a quick fix sort of scenario, but, you know, let's see their journey. Maybe we can give them some advice along the way. I can already see that they're starting with an electric guitar. Personally, I think electric guitar is dying, and you know what? Good riddance. I think it's the age of classical now, so it's probably time to put that thing away. But you know, every good classical guitarist starts with 8 years of electric training before they move on to classical. That seems to be how it goes. So, let's jump into it.
Oh, that's so hard. It's really nice.
It is nice, right?
I give up.
Alright, well, into the video. There we go, guys. It would be less hard if you maybe tried nylon strings. I don't know, I'm just throwing stuff out.
So, I'm a classically trained pianist composer, and I spent the last 30 days teaching myself how to play the guitar. Alberti bass.
You're getting into Alberti bass on guitar. On an electric guitar at that, too. I guess that would work for, like, speed metal stuff.
It's really difficult.
Yeah, if you play Alberti bass on guitar, you can't really play much else. That's a great question. Where do you start? As, like, if you're somebody who plays a different instrument, where do you even start on guitar? You know, whenever I learn a new instrument, which isn't very often, but I've, like, dabbled in instruments before, is first I want to learn how to play a C major scale, or whatever the, like, scale that the instrument's tuned in. Like, guitar is tuned in G major, so that's a good place to start. I was learning flute for a while there, like, a few years ago, and I felt pretty comfortable when I was able to go through the circle of fifths, like, to the left, like, from C, F, B flat, so on. And if I could do that, like, in at least hit a note in any register, I felt pretty satisfied with, like, my ability to go through notes on that instrument. So that could be a good thing to try. That's a little more complicated on guitar, because there's a lot of places to play the same note. Actually, that might not work. Scratch everything I just said.
I've learned about the guitar from a pianist perspective and show you all how far I was able to get.
I guess this is the octave, the reach of the guitar player.
It's that right there.
7 things that I picked up while learning the guitar, and at the end of the video I will share a full performance of a piece I wrote during this time for the guitar.
That's a very responsible thing to do. If you're gonna write for guitar, at least learn how to play it.
Very special guest who dropped by the studio, Yvette Young, came by and she gave me some amazing pointers that really helped me get through these last days of practicing the guitar.
Oh, sounds like Polyphia stuff. Oh no. She's already going into the dark side.
Point number 1. This is a very physically hard instrument. It's
Yeah, that's right.
rough on the fingertips, but also just this position of holding. I'm sure I'm making all kinds of postural mistakes.
I mean, this can be fixed pretty easily if you just get one of these. And there's even more you can do beyond that. You can get one of these, a pillow, and then all of a sudden, boom, you're actually playing in, ooh, I'm sliding around, hold on. You also got to get some of this. You know that you're advanced in your guitar journey the more, like, garbage you have stacked on you. And then all of a sudden, you're in a pretty good spot. I'm not in A440 right now. Hold on. Then you can easily play your Polyphia.
But still, there's something quite unnatural about it compared to...
Well, yeah, if you hold it like that, yeah. Ideally, like I said, if the neck is up here, like, you can really just hold your hand as if you're just sort of letting it go, and then boom. And then the same thing with this hand. It shouldn't be hard. There shouldn't really be any, like, bend or anything like that, or any weird angles in your hand at all. Like, if you're playing like this, of course. Which is, by the way, how I played for the first like 8 years of my playing when I played electric guitar, because the electric guitar kind of encourages you to do that first in like the technique and then also just the music that you play. The technique is sort of encouraged to have that sort of compromised wrist positioning. It doesn't have to be that way though. Just don't play electric.
Do all guitarists go through this pain? I don't remember going through pain learning the piano. I don't know about this.
That's a really great question, and yes, but they shouldn't. I think that pain comes from like trying to do stuff that's too hard too quickly. Like that's why I start students like with just single notes. Like first just teaching them how to like pluck the string and then just playing like E, F, and G. And just playing single notes. Like I can see that you're playing a power chord over there, which is a lot of stuff. And that's also kind of the flaw in a video like this, where it's like learning guitar in 30 days. You're gonna like kind of speed course a lot of stuff. Like if you're gonna learn it in 30 days, you're probably gonna hurt yourself in some way, which is how like a lot of people learn how to play guitar. They want to rush through it. So yeah, like including me, like especially when I was younger. I've since sort of calmed down on that, and you know, I try to learn things really thoroughly. I think about longevity and stuff.
Structure I gave myself was to try to learn a phrase or two at the ends of practice sessions, and here's the first one that I learned. It's harder.
It seems like you have a lot of questions about like guitar technique, and you're also going through a lot of pain. Based on seeing you play with like your fingers like that, I don't know, do you ever play piano like that? Like I would suggest not doing that when you play any instrument, really. You can imagine how that would compromise like the sensitivity of your finger. So seeing that makes me think that you probably don't have a guitar teacher, and that could be for a few reasons. Like first off, you're a professional pianist and you don't need a teacher for any musical thing for the most part, unless it's like a new genre or something, in which case you've already mastered a genre to a professional level, which means that you probably know how to explore new genres. But the only thing that you would maybe need a teacher for is, or definitely need a teacher for, is just technique, which can be solved in like 1 or 2 lessons. Because that will cause pain, among other things too. Who recommended you get an electric guitar? Who did that to you?
About 10 to 30 minutes a day. Honestly, some days, maybe even 5 minutes. It helped me a lot to think more in terms of intervals and relative movement rather than understanding where each note is.
Yeah, no, that's like the story of every guitarist right there. We don't know the notes on our instrument, but as long as you know all the shapes, you're good.
First, I wanted to learn how to play the C major scale.
Yeah, that's a great starting place.
And it took me a whole session to figure it out. Look how strange that looks like. Whereas on the piano, you just play every white key, and you could do it like this, or you could use your thumb, and you will find C majors.
Yeah, that's true, but here's the benefit to guitar, which you played it with open strings. Like if you play it without using open strings, so like instead of playing open D, you just play a whole step above C. Once you learn that C major shape, you can now slide it up a half step to D flat and play the exact same thing, and now you're playing a D flat major scale. So you can transpose super easily, and even moving it to a different string, like moving it down a fourth to A flat, it's the same shape again. Which, you know, piano, you can find C major really easily. There's a lot of different like patterns that you kind of have to get your hands used to on piano. While guitar, there's only one for each like scale that you want to play. So, you know, there's trade-offs.
Heavily relying on, I would say, 3 main intervals. The fourth, because obviously it's tuned this.
There's a major third in there, but I know what you mean.
So I'm constantly thinking, okay, do I want to go up a fifth or down a fifth? And I know it's that shape. And then...
Oh, you're sounding like a guitarist now. Talking about shapes, going back to grade school. Yeah, shapes are great. There's a lot of like, you know, stuffy academic guitarists that'll talk about how shapes are bad and like reinforce like guitaristic habits that aren't good apparently. But you know, guitar is kind of its own language, and I think it's okay to learn the language of the guitar. I don't play piano or any other instrument nearly as well as I play guitar, but I guarantee you that there are pattern shapes that you just sort of get familiar with on piano. Like I bet you there are a couple of major keys on piano that look kind of similar, and you have like patterns that you sort of memorize. Like you're not thinking of them as like individual notes, and there's like 12 unique major scales. Like there's just no way. But you know, my point is like you get familiar with the instrument in a lot of different ways, and there's more than just learning all the notes on the fretboard.
The octave, which is similar to the fifth, but 2 strings apart.
Yeah.
And it's different in the upper strings because of that third, which always throws me off.
Throws everyone off.
Interesting.
So there's a lot of mystery on the fretboards in there.
Related to the last point, I find that chord progressions that have fourths and fifths work very naturally on the guitar because of the tuning. So for example...
Whoa.
Chord
Wow, she's already like better than most of us just from that. She's already thinking. A lot of us don't think when we play guitar. We just kind of learn our shapes.
progression like that, especially with how easy it is to maneuver down fourths and fifths
Until you run out of frets.
naturally on the guitar.
For this reason alone, I understand why the guitar is such a natural songwriting instrument compared to the piano, where these bass lines don't have a consistent shape. Notice that black to white keys are constantly changing.
Very true. Guitar is a great instrument for playing advanced stuff really early on and having simple stuff be like really advanced that you would play later on. It's arbitrary what is hard and what is easy on guitar. I feel like on piano it's more linear. What's the easiest thing? Playing a single note and then like a simple chord progression, and then like the more complex it is, the harder it gets, and it's kind of linear. But on guitar, like sometimes a really complicated chord progression can be really easy, and then like a really simple one can be really hard. That's just kind of how it works, I guess. So it's kind of cool for beginners in that way, and like songwriting, because you can do complex, interesting stuff without much practice. So it's kind of useful for that. Yeah, she's going to those 2-5-1s.
I know this is not ideal, but I actually really love the sound of this without an amp. Just not in terms...
Oh, you should be playing a classical guitar. You're like, I love the tone of this piece of crap guitar with no amp, where like all the tone comes from the electronics. Did you know that there's a guitar that can sound so beautiful? It'll sound so much better. It'll sound like a real instrument. It's okay, you'll get there.
of sound production or anything, but there's something really nice about it to just sit in a room, play something rather quietly. I don't know. I really
You're just taunting me at this point.
appreciate this.
I think I made the most progress during the first week, after which progress was a little more difficult.
Okay, so I know this is a guitar video, but
She sounds like me right now. I know this is a guitar video, guys, but hold on.
don't want to set up today. I actually didn't want to even pick up the guitar today because I had a pretty lousy day. Today I decided to show up anyway.
Nice. It's all about showing up. Put in your 5 minutes. I didn't comment on that, but the whole like practicing 5 minutes thing. There will be people saying like you got to start with an hour. Got to go for an hour consistently. Why don't you just try playing for a month and like play for 5 minutes a day each month? You know the expression like leave them wanting more? Leave yourself wanting more when you play guitar, like early on when all you're relying on is motivation. I think it's a good idea to maybe stop early and just build the habit of playing guitar. Try to keep that consistent for like months and months and years eventually. And then you can start worrying about playing a lot when like showing up to play guitar is no longer a question, but it's just a thing that you do, like brushing your teeth or whatever. But yeah.
If there's anything I learned from learning the piano, it's to show up. Even just do a little bit. So I told myself I'm just going to do 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And it's been 10 minutes. I think I'll do a little more. And
Yeah, sometimes when you just show up, give yourself 2 minutes. Like, who eats one chip? Show up to the chip bag and just eat one chip and see what happens. You're eating more chips. There's no way. It's unlikely you'll end up actually practicing 2 minutes. That's just not how we do things. Like, once you're doing it, it then becomes easier to keep doing it than to stop, because then you have to figure out something else to do. So that's a great strategy.
little idea for a piece that's going to use more of my right hand. I just need to find a way to...
You love classical guitar. You're working on your right hand, huh? Oh, man. It's torture. It's torture hearing this.
do less of this, do less moving, because I really do want to play, or at least write, a little something that is complete. So, Wish me luck.
During this time, I did read some of your comments on the post that I made on my Instagram. That was really helpful. And I started to be a little more mindful of things like posture and something called the caged system.
Oh. No, the caged theory. You gotta learn your music theory. You thought you knew music theory as a composer? You never heard of caged.
These fingers here, and then you bar. What? What? Okay, nice.
Wait, do you already know your open chords? Okay.
You bar this. Jeez.
I really struggled with this.
Yeah, I don't think that's how you should approach the cage system. Man, honestly, I feel for someone at this level, I think just learning scales using the cage system is probably the best thing, because then you're familiar with all the notes on the guitar. And keep in mind, you're playing single notes. Like, you know you can play single notes. You're already playing 2-5-1s with, like, these, like, unconventional guitar voicings that show, like, you can play notes. Trying to play, like, a big bar, like, C form, like, that's a hard chord. Who actually plays this? I don't think I've ever busted that out in my like singer-songwriter song. So yeah, just learn scales in Caged. And by the time you have them like fully memorized, I think your fingers will have like a good bit of dexterity, and you could probably just start playing chords, and you can use those scales to help you find the notes that you're looking for, and you'll sort of use them as a guide. They're the ultimate patterns. If you're gonna learn patterns, like you might as well just learn those, and that kind of gives you everything.
No, I actually really do give up for today.
Yeah, good. Give up. Don't do that.
What I gather from the cage system is that it's very useful to help you understand where the same pitch occurs throughout the neck.
Yeah, you do have to learn all your notes at some point, especially if you want to play stuff that isn't just rock music, which it seems like you haven't even considered rock music as like anything. You want to compose music for guitar. It's clear to me that you want to play classical guitar. That's what it feels like from here. But yeah, you are going to have to learn the notes.
I focused on 3 strings at a time. So C, and I was doing this sort of thing where I just play the leading tone to the C again. You can find a C major chord using the open A string position, but at a different point. So going back to C, using my knowledge of the octaves, I know that the next C will be here. Yes. So then using the A position, so C, A, G, oh, that's so hard. And then C, A, G, E. The last position is a D. This is how it helped me.
Oh man, there's gotta be a better way to do that. I get that helped you, and that is a way to do it. I mean, I would think about it how you play it on piano. I would maybe just focus on triads and like actually getting the 3 notes and like finding each inversion. Like for C, like knowing that. And like spend a practice session just going through each of these, and then we're just at the octave there. You're already moving this way anyways. You might as well just be as thorough as possible. What you're doing there, you're missing out on so many notes. There's so much mystery now. I would focus on the triads, just like closed voicings on the high 3 strings rather than doing that, and then you can fill in bass notes later. That's what a lot of those like open chords or like chords that you'd use in Cage System are. Like they're really similar to how you'd play chords on piano, where it's like root, 5th, root, and then the triads on the high 3 strings. So you're just looking at the right hand stuff first.
I do think that some of my piano technique is transferring over to the guitar because I've spent over 2 decades concentrating on finger dexterity and just developing a sensation in the tips of my fingers in relation to what I'm hearing. If I pluck the string this way, I can make a sound, whereas if I pluck the string too hard, that's not the sound I want. So I'm just
Oh man, you would love classical guitar. It's like that, but it's so much more. There's so much more to it if you just play a classical.
And now, by day 23, I managed to write a little piece, and here I am playing it for Yvette.
God, It would be so much better on a classical guitar. Like, you're already playing with, like, classical technique in the right hand. What's with the electric?
Okay, the fact that you could write all that and fingerpick and have that dexterity in 3 weeks is way farther than I would have, gone. An instrument where you're thinking polyphonically, where your left hand is harmonizing your right and vice versa. Like, that really, I see that really translating to the way you play. Like, you're using the lower notes.
Fascinating to me because Yvette also has a background in classical piano, and that translates to her guitar playing. She's known for her virtuosic and unique guitar technique and writing style, so it was so
Polyphia stuff. Polyphia stuff. You should learn how to play pentatonic scales if you're going to do that. Pentatonic scales and sliding around them, and I don't know.
Perspective, I find that the ideas I come up with at the guitar are so different than...
Yeah, probably because, like, your previous ideas just would be impossible on guitar. So when you find the stuff that's possible on guitar, you're like, this is different than anything I would ever choose to do without these very strict restraints.
What I come up with at the piano. I found it just so different.
Yeah, on the piano, the notes just flow. You can just actually play anything you want. On guitar, you get, like, nothing.
To write for strings that ring. For example, this is the opening of the piece that I wrote. And I would never write something like that on the piano because it just sounds a lot more pale. Of course, you could make certain notes ring a little more.
So guitar sounds better. So you would write, like, dumber stuff. That's how I see it, honestly. Like, on piano, you have to rely on the composition actually being good.
I think it's more natural on the guitar where there's just a little more texture so that it doesn't feel like it needs an extra part.
Before we move on, I want to give a special shout out to Fender, who sent me their Stratocaster guitar and a Princeton Reverb amp when they found out that I'm doing this project.
You didn't get the Cordoba sponsorship. Alright, well, that's fine. Alright, I think we saw enough here. So, in conclusion, I don't know. Play classical guitar, that's what I was gonna say. I think we missed out on, like, the final, like, what she learned in 30 days. That's alright. I think we got a pretty good idea. I'm being so disrespectful. I'm not gonna finish the video. To be honest, I've been filming for a while and I'm kind of over it right now. I kind of want to go to the gym and work out or something. So, I'm gonna end this one here. But in short, like, go pick up a classical guitar. Go play your music on classical. Compositions sound better even if they're not even good. Anyways, if you made it this far, be sure to subscribe, leave a like. Hey, want some merch? Get some merch. You want some guitar lessons? I'll teach you technique on classical guitar. Classical technique, you won't hurt yourself. Boom. Alright. That's it. Oh yeah, comment questions, feel free to leave them. I'll answer them in the podcast at some point. Alright. I'll see you in the next one.